Radio Australia, it is time for the Crypto Hour of Power. I hope you enjoyed a bit of Oasis there. Got Brandon across as you always, mate. Great to see you.
Good morning, mate. Afternoon.
Afternoon, yeah. It's been a long morning. It's stuck into the afternoon. We've got a special guest in the studio.
Yes, we do.
Would you like to introduce this young man who's ready to share all his wealth of knowledge?
Yeah, the infinite. God, I forgot. I just lost the word then. Anyways,
it's pretty hot in here, mate. It's okay. I understand. Without aircon, the brain tends to waver.
Infamous. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, Jeremy. Introduce yourself, Jeremy. Your name and where you're from.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Infamous and old. So that's a good start to it anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Only way is up, mate. There you go.
So my name's Jeremy Jacker. What do you want me to get into, mate? Let's kick it off.
Well, it's a crypto show, so just a little bit about your background on how you got into crypto originally, and what you're currently doing now.
Yep, I think that's a 20-year story, but we'll try and keep that down.
We've got now. We've got now. We can do it.
Cool. All right. Originally come from an IT background, but really specialised in the security aspects of IT. So doing a lot of switches and routers and operating systems and just locking down corporate environments. So everything I do in the IT world, I tend to wear a bit of a security cap when I'm looking at things. So that's sort of my technical background. How did I end up in crypto? Bit of a journey. I went out of IT for a while. So I was in that for about 10 years and took a step back, started running my own business, and got involved in the world of property development, which is very much about investment, returns on investment, capital raising, legal structures. So built up a lot of financial acumen doing that sort of work, and then been doing that for maybe 12 or so years, and the world's just sort of collided where at one of our investor sessions we were running, there was a couple of guys having a chat in the corner about this thing called Ethereum. And I was just propped up there with a beer in one hand and just listening along to what they were talking about. And I'd obviously heard of Bitcoin a while back, and they were talking about Ethereum and this thing might pop, and talking about it from an investment angle.
What year was that?
I'm saying that was a Christmas party in 2016.
Right. Okay.
So I guess that was the initial spark where, like I said, I'd heard of Bitcoin before, and I had friends that were mining it probably a couple of years prior, but for me it wasn't really on my radar at that point. Then when I heard these guys talking about it, I think that was the thing that was the trigger point where I went, okay, I probably need to find out a little bit more about what's going on here.
There's always a trigger, isn't there? There's always something that goes, hang on, look, something could be right there in front of you, and just something sets you off. In your case, you're at a barbecue talking with friends. There you go.
Yep. So those two worlds collided because I went back, and the guy that was actually talking about Ethereum at that party, he was kind enough, and I owe him a lot because he came in and he was kind enough to spend a lot of time with me getting things set up, because it is. I still remember to this day, even though I've got a very heavy tech background, it was like getting hit over the head with a sledgehammer.
I really appreciate you saying that, because as far as tech goes, I'm a guy who bangs two rocks together. Okay, I'm not good with the tech, and I'm obviously very, very keen on the crypto space, getting involved, all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the bit that scares me. So I guess this all comes down to education, doesn't it?
Oh, exactly. And every year it gets easier. The tools develop more.
Sure.
They become more user friendly, but it is just to get the fundamentals. And back then, and bear in mind, I was pretty late to the game, I believe, at that point.
Come on, you're just a whippersnapper. Come on.
Right. So I was pretty late to the crypto game, so I can only imagine what it was like in prior years. It would have been very, very nerdy.
I think now it's getting much, much easier. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. Let's come back on that later, because I think it's really good to touch on that, because I think there's some good and there's some bad that's come out of that. So for me, those worlds collided, and I looked at it from an investment arena. And look, there's no doubting when you see Bitcoin has gone up literally millions of %.
Sure.
It's hard to not look at this sector and come in with the view of I'm here for the mad gains.
Yeah, okay.
So I think most people, that's their introduction, is from an investing angle. And then it sort of pairs off in you either start to understand the tech a little bit more and realise what it can offer society, or you just sit at that same level and you're just pure investment.
Okay.
So you're not actually really using the tech, you're dabbling in it, and you're
just in it for the Lambo.
You're in it for the Lambo, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But me, coming from a tech background, I really dug the tech. To me, I could see what was going on with it. I could see it at a deeper level and see where it was heading. So for me, it was from that point on, all of 2017 was, I probably spent way too much time doing crypto. It was a 8-hour, 9-hour day sort of thing for me. So when I get involved in something like that, and I was lucky, I was fortunate enough to have time on my hands. I didn't have a job or anything like that. Sorry. It's not that I wasn't working. I was just able to control my time, and I chose to dedicate a lot of my time.
Well, I think over the last 3 years, there was a period there where we all had a lot of time.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it was a good time to immerse yourself in something. And I think that, I know, it's a difference in human beings. Some people just took it as, I'm just going to have a holiday. Other people educated themselves and went into other, avenues and passions.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm one of those people, I'm a very details-oriented person.
Right.
So for me, just buying crypto wasn't enough. I wanted to understand what it was all about and how it worked. And that basically took me on a path where for the amount of time I've been in crypto, I've probably, without trying to blow your own trumpet, I probably immersed myself a lot to the point where I was then able to start educating and teaching others. And
I don't think that's any trumpet sort of blowing whatsoever. Quite frankly, I think it's really important that you do that. If you've got the knowledge, if you're not sharing it, it's being wasted.
Exactly, yeah. And that was my take on it. So I've been fortunate to be involved with a lot of people that have helped a lot of people get into the space. And we're talking guys that are almost at retirement age or have retired, and they're coming in and they see it as this investment vehicle, although once they're in, they start to change their mind. So they see it as this investment vehicle, not so much for themselves, but for their grandkids.
Yep. Makes sense.
So they're trying to build a legacy for their family, and they see this as an asset class that can offer that.
Gotcha. I mean, we actually had some people on the show yesterday when we were doing the Greater Wealth, and we obviously talk about the combination of finance and politics and how everything crosses. And something that I was excited by, and I really actually wanted to talk to you guys about this, is this exciting sort of new technology of the fact that people will be able to literally do their everyday shopping, this way with the tap and go sort of scenarios, but now with crypto. And I don't know how that's all sort of coming along, but for what I can see, what I've been told, it looks like a really exciting time. Like it makes it more tangible. And also if you're trading in other countries, now normally if you've got to purchase something from another country, you want to send money to a loved one overseas, whatever, there's so many middlemen. This just seems to cut out so much of that.
Look, I wish we were further along that path, but I think we've got
we've still got a bit to go. But like 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, they were talking about having cards that you can do crypto and all this sort of stuff, and it was a big pipe dream.
Right?
Do you know what I mean? But a lot of that's come to fruition now. But you still have a long way to go. But you can see that the progress. Like you can do your loans on crypto. Using DeFi, cards, buying stuff. Leveraging. Staking, earning liquidity. Passive income, all that sort of stuff. That was in people's dreams like 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think what we're witnessing, and eventually we're going to end up with a collision of these two worlds. So we've got the fiat to crypto on-ramp tools that we have available, and they've, without a doubt, they have gotten a lot easier to use, a lot more prevalent, and that has been great for ushering people into this space.
And just to clarify, the fiat system is the traditional finances.
Yeah, what we know is the dollars we use.
Garbage
every day.
Exactly. Well, worthless. I'm going to joke about it every time I hear it. The fiat system. It's fix it again, Tony.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right, man. Government's war machine money.
So you've got that on one side, and then you've got the other side of the coin, which is total DeFi. What I mean by DeFi is decentralized finance.
Yes.
So that is the pure blockchain space, which by itself doesn't really have an interconnect to the old monetary system.
Right.
And that's where we're seeing a lot of innovation and a lot of tools getting built up now is on that pure DeFi section. Now, there's only two ways. There's a number of ways this can all collide. And the first way is if we keep building what I call the alternative finance system in this DeFi world, if that keeps getting built up, the only way we can then use that in real life is if the majority of people have a wallet on their phone. And that's what we're seeing a lot of adoption do now, is self-custodying your assets. So you're in control of the assets you have. And you could imagine if everyone ends up with one of these DeFi wallets on their phone, then it can be used for that transactional. For sure. Yeah.
I mean, I look at whenever I go, I've carried my phone, obviously, like everybody, everywhere, right? And I can't remember how many. I mean, I don't even take a card out. I just, boom, hit the phone, or it's a watch or whatever you tap away, right? When we're in a position where we can do that with crypto, the world is just so open.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. So we are using digital money already. Whether we like it or not, we have been using digital money for a long time, and the powers that be are trying to make that even more so. So the cash moving through the system is slowly coming to an end. There's more and more restrictions getting put on that day by day.
It certainly is.
Try and draw some money out of the bank. Good luck.
Try and find a bank.
Yeah, try and find a bank. Exactly, yeah. So it's all getting moved to this digital realm. And that's why I think we're going to end up with a collision where this intersection of total DeFi and the on-ramp exchanges and things like that, they're going to collide at some point. And hopefully, my hope is the DeFi side of things, the self-custody side of things becomes more prevalent as more people get an understanding of the importance of it.
Yeah, I think over time that'll happen, and as I said, it's all about the knowledge. When I've seen crypto for myself, for a long time as something frightening, something out of my space, right? It's just like it's too complicated for me. And a little bit of education, talking with people, talking to the right people.
Exactly.
I'm starting to realise it's not scary at all, quite frankly. It's just get that basic knowledge, and this is, in my life, absolutely something I'm going to embrace. No question about it.
Yeah, I still think there's a stigma.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. And I'll give you an example. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you an example. So obviously there was a narrative out there for a while where it's all used by money launderers and drug dealers and things like that. And to the point where a lot of the older, I'm using the term older, but I'm getting close up to this bracket as well, but people that are retirees that are coming into the market, using it as that financial tool, and they get it, and they see the benefits of it. They're starting to understand the tech, but they're too scared to even chat about it with their family, so their kids and things like that, because they don't want to be thought of as a fool or getting taken advantage of. Like that. So there's still that.
I get what you're saying. I do actually.
And it's the kids. So these guys are coming into the market, and it's their kids that don't understand what the hell's going on. So the parents have leapfrogged them in terms of the technology.
I think you bang on that one actually. Yeah. Really, I mean that older generation has taken on tech to a much greater degree than I would have thought they had or would have. To the point where I think my father teaches me more how to use a computer than I would know, and the younger ones again. But I think that we had a narrative coming through the mainstream media for a very long time, and obviously being fed through the financial institutions and all kind of thing to damage the reputation of crypto, because why would they want to lose power, right? It makes no sense. So now that the word is out, the old toothpaste is out of the tube, as one of my friends likes to say.
Exactly.
I think that we're looking at a time now where if you get that knowledge and you think, hang on, look, I've been handing all this money over for a very long time. How about I took control of my future?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, like, the client base that we got primarily, I think, is like, 40 years old plus, type of thing. Yeah. And I think what they're looking at is, hey, man, I've got to retire in 10 or 15 years, and with my super, it just ain't going to cut it, man.
Yeah. It's not.
So they're looking for alternatives.
And I'm going to throw something from left field here. Okay. But, I deal a lot with people who have been through relationship breakdowns. And so a lot of people have lost their super through financial settlements, we'll just call it that. Yeah. And they're in a position where they're 40-something, they've been financially decimated, And quite frankly, they're now looking at a way that they can rebuild, so they've got a nest egg, so they can actually retire. Because if you've worked your butt off, you've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands, or whatever the case may be, in your super, and then the relationship breaks down. Boom, you lose all of that. You're still going to need to retire. So that's a lot of people I'm actually talking to now, it's a strange question. I didn't know it was coming my way, but people have actually been asking me, hey, Aaron, how do I get involved in crypto? Because I've got to do some rebuilding here.
Well, I blame the education system, for a lot of our ills in society.
Where do you start?
It's a long list.
Socialist dystopia. But I wish they educated, because you get the 20, 25-year-olds, they're the ones that should be investing at the moment. They're the ones that, so to build up their future. But they have no financial education in their schools. No. Do you know what I mean? So that's the most irritating part.
Well, it's a long time since I was in school, but I'll tell you right now, I remember in year 9, and I was literally saying in maths, why aren't we learning how to do tax returns?
Sure.
Right? Okay, because this is a fundamental thing in life that we're going to, I don't need to add, X and Y and over the power of this and that. And I'm not knocking education. But, honestly, I wasn't going to go off and build bridges. Okay, I don't need to know that. How about something that's going to affect my everyday life?
Even the basics, where does money come from?
Imagine that. Because to be frank, I mean, I've only recently found that out in the last few years.
I'd push back on the math side of things, because now I really see the importance of that, and especially as we move into a world where everything, if we're talking about code and things like that, maths is hyper important. But I totally agree with your other comment. The first video that everyone should watch when they're doing Economics 101 at school is, where does money come from? Because no one has a damn clue, and I think if they understood that, they would look at the world in a totally different way.
Imagine educating the creature at Jekyll Island. Educating them on how things turned into fiat and got off the gold standard and all that sort of stuff. The reason they don't educate you on that, because they don't want you to fucking know.
Spot on. And you've just nailed it. It's not a case of they're trying to fail your education. They're quite frankly just trying to keep you in the system so they can benefit out of it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess if we come back full loop on that then, so I mentioned that most people get in it for the mad gains. And it's true. You've just given me a couple of examples where someone needs to reboot their financial life because something's crucified that. So they come in it for the mad gains, and if they're paying attention and they enter into the market in the right way and are educated the right way, then first of all, you get a lot more educated about our current financial system. Because you're starting to compare things. And to say that we're in it for the tech as well, it's a little bit of a meme, but people, when they start to understand the tech a little bit more and the freedom that it offers, that's when I think there's a big shift in people's mindsets, and they go from... So a lot of people that we usher into this space, their first question is, okay, I can see how we put money in to crypto, but how the hell do I get it out? And obviously the answer is pretty simple. It's just the reverse of the way you got it in. It's not rocket science. But they're so worried about getting gains and stripping that back out of the market. And it's not until they've been in for a little while, then that totally changes. And I find people are less inclined to withdraw funds out of the market. They'll take funds for living expenses and things like that, but they feel safer having their funds in crypto than sitting in a bank.
Really interesting you say that, because I only noticed that the other day. I was literally having a conversation with somebody, and the conversations used to be, I'm waiting until it hits this and I'm going to grab that and run, I'm not hearing anyone wanting to run anymore. I'm hearing literally people going, I've got XYZ dollars, I'm going to take X out because, I need to buy this or living expenses, whatever, right? Or holiday, whatever. But they're going to take X out, but they're going to leave the rest of the alphabet there. Because they realise it's assets, it's growing, and it's
when you see something growing, you don't want to pull it out.
No, that's right. That's right.
You'll take I don't know, an apple tree for example. You got it full of apples, and you just go, all right, we'll just cut it off at the bottom.
That's right. That's a damn good analogy.
I just thought of that too. That's a keeper.
Jot that down quickly.
I think you're right. So people start to see it as more of a vehicle where they can grow their wealth, but they can protect it. But look, let's face it, massive gains like we see in this space don't come without the risk of massive volatility. So people do still need safe harbours within the space to be able to, when there's massive market fluctuations, they need a port in a storm they can go to. And that's really what the space has been about creating over the last couple of years. Is great to have the benefit of these growing assets, but how do we look after it? How do we pop that somewhere safe when we need to and get out of the volatility, because all markets have volatility.
Look, if we were talking about the stock exchange, right? If you had a decent portfolio, full out my own words there, but if you had one, what are you going to do? You're going to have some blue chip stuff, you're going to have some more volatile stuff. It's going to be a mix, because obviously if you had it all in high risk, you're living a high risk. If you're going to get it all in blue chip, it's going to be small, slow gains. So it's about having a mix, and any market, that's the pretext to it.
I mean, we've just witnessed massive market pullbacks across the board. So crypto, it's done its usual market cycle.
Yep.
Once you've been in for one or two of those cycles, you become not immune, but a little less concerned.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again.
I've lived through this.
And that's
for new people, they're freaking out.
That's right. And that I think the only way you get to that level is you get a confidence in what the technology is, what the space is doing, how the cycles work. But outside of crypto, we've seen Tesla, Amazon, they've all been absolutely smashed. Yeah.
Let's talk about that after a quick little break. I've got a song for you, mate. Okay, I'm pointing at you, Brandon, because you've come in with quite a list, mate. You really have. Got some great music coming, and we love our Aussie stuff around here. So do you feel like a bit of dragon?
100%.
Done. It is Edge Radio Australia, listening to the Crypto Hour of Power. Very good to see you, Jeremy. You, apart from having amazing taste in shirts that we talked about in the break there.
Wish we had a camera, people.
Oh, it's pretty frightening. It's actually, look, it's rare that someone competes with me when it comes to shirts. I'm feeling beaten, actually. You know,
this is my quiet one.
I can tell. I can tell. I really can.
And for those who can't see, they're both wearing a bloody flowered Hawaiian shirt.
That's right. Look, we're at a beach somewhere, in our minds anyway, right? It's in our minds. I don't really have beach body, but you know, a bit of whaling perhaps, I don't know. Now you guys, as I say, when the music was playing, and I was kicking back to it at Noiseworks, you guys talk, away you go. You got some subjects. I really want to get into this, so I'm going to throw straight back to you.
Yeah, cool. Like, we're just basically just sort of touching on like a hedge against inflation and like a port in the storm type of thing.
Yeah,
and that's how I look at at crypto. So if you got money in the bank, you're losing money.
You are.
You know,
True.
like if you got super, you're losing money. You know, by the time that you get it out, it's gone. So it's I think Adam Stokes said it. He said, what did he say? God. The fastest ship or the fastest horse or something like that, like pick the fastest horse.
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
And you don't necessarily have to pick the fastest one. You just have to pick the one that's faster than the one you've got at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. and that's progress, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I like, all my investments, like I'm 100% into crypto. I was into gold and silver for a bit. But yeah, just the enormity of the market, like doing passive income, yield farming, you know, there's just so many areas. You sort of end up where you sort of do a spray gun effect, where you sort of buy everything and try to invest in everything, and then you narrow it down, and you sort of get better and better.
You look at what works, right? Yeah.
So as far as like hedging against inflation and that sort of stuff, I know that Jeremy, you were talking about like in stable coins and that sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah. I'll circle back on what you just mentioned then about don't necessarily need the fastest horse in the race. You just need not to be on the slowest one.
That's right.
I think it's true, and if I sort of relate that to my own personal journey, and like yourself, I'm probably irresponsibly heavy in crypto, but I've got conviction around what the space is. I've got conviction around the space and the tech and things like that. So I don't make that as an uninformed.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't like go, crypto, Bitcoin, okay, cool, was my life savings, just piled it in.
Yeah. It wasn't.
You do it over time.
That's right.
The more you understand it.
Exactly. And so yeah, you've got to get comfortable with the space. And what it boiled down for me in particular is coming from the property development background, I understand the property industry quite well.
Yep.
And the sorts of yields you can pull out of projects. So development in the property world is considered like the Ferrari of the investment space, where that's it's quick turnaround, trying to basically get high returns on your investment capital.
Yeah, but that's like short term though, like flipping. Or
well,
are you talking more long term?
Yeah. So, but a property development project will run long term,
right,
but within that you have tactical projects that you take on.
Yep.
And each one of those projects is assessed in its own right, but then you look at the business of running a property development business as an ongoing concern. And what I found over time is, the risks to do those sorts of deals got more and more because because more red tape is introduced.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So
green tape too. Lots of green tape.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Every year there is someone else with their hand in your pocket because you need a certificate for this or a registration permits.
Well, it's just going to get worse if the voice to Parliament gets through. Let's face it, that's just going to add another layer to this and make business even harder.
So and then you start adding things like the ESG movement, and we probably don't want to go too far down that tangent, but all these things are getting layered in, and the risk is getting higher and higher. And as a developer, you are the last person paid out of a project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got to pay all your consultants, all your real estate agents. You've got to pay for the land. Like, the list goes on. Settlement agents. There's just a long list of people you've got to pay out for their services.
Yep.
And like I said, each year another service is slotted in there, to the point where the returns you pull out of one of those projects, even with high leverage, it just gets to the stage where the risk for return gets too much when you're looking at another horse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which can do that in a quarter of the time. You don't have banks sitting over the top of you with security over the deal and
interest, fees.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So everyone with their hand in. Exactly.
That's right. So you strip out a raft of middlemen. Yeah, it's a totally different industry, and there's no bricks and mortar that you're looking at. So you need to become comfortable with that and what's going on. But it means you can be a lot more effective with a lot less capital.
Okay.
And that's important for younger guys because they are the guys that they haven't got built up a big retirement savings, or they haven't worked a whole year, a whole lifetime and accrued assets that have grown in time. And so they just haven't been the beneficiary of that 20, 30 years at the time.
The whole time.
So deploying capital as a younger guy in this space, you can deploy a small amount of capital and use that as a base to keep growing on. And you've got to understand this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. It's multi-year, multi-decade. If you go into it with that approach and you structure things in that way, then you'll be a lot better positioned and mentally and financially.
So if you're just looking for short-term gains, it's probably not the way to go. Is that what you're saying?
Look,
am I reading too much there?
No, you definitely get them. But don't go in with that expectation. Don't think you're just going to throw a dart, and just hit a meme coin and all of a sudden become a Dogecoin millionaire type of thing.
Yeah.
Although that does happen.
It does.
And, it always talks about diversity of a portfolio.
Yeah.
But, definitely letting people know, like, this is a minimum 6, 8, 10 year.
Gotcha.
To accrue more wealth.
Well, that's not a long time, really. When you look at it, if you're in for the long haul and you call it, say, 6, 10 years, whatever, that's not a big chunk of your life to build something that is going to, A, look after you in that later part of your life, and B, be a legacy for your children and grandchildren.
Yeah, and you don't have to be clever. You can come into this space, like I say, you don't have to pick the fastest horse because this market moves as a bit of it's like a rising tide. Lifts all boats.
Yep.
So you can pick some of the heavier boats,
right,
and go along on that journey. And if you set yourself, like, say, 5 years, that will get you through, based on history, a complete cycle.
Okay,
a bit over a complete cycle. So if you screw it up royally and you come in at the wrong time, that amount of time would allow you to, I guess, offset any mistakes as a learner that you make a mistake.
Gotcha.
that you make.
That makes sense.
Yeah. What I would suggest is don't go blindly into the space. Mm-hmm. It's good if you can find someone that can guide you in the correct way.
I agree. Yeah, someone who's made all the mistakes.
Yeah,
you're about to make.
Yep. Well, that's the great shortcut, isn't it? Like, let them make the mistakes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And you're still going to make those same mistakes.
Yes, sure.
But maybe you won't make them as big, or you'll pick up one or two things. But experience is obviously the true teacher.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No question.
But I think having the right people educate you, and that's why I say we talk. I'll keep coming back to this because we've had guys that are at retirement age come through, and the way they've been introduced to the market is in a very specific way, where they're actually using the tools and the protocols and this DeFi space, as opposed to a lot of other people, and particularly young people that got caught up in Robinhood and things like that.
Yeah, FTX.
Yep, FTX. So they basically end up on a centralized exchange. So they're not holding the cryptocurrencies themselves. They're in the custody of some other company.
Which you are if you've got money in the bank anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And with the buy-in laws and that sort of thing that have been so prevalent in the US, and they've tried to get them through in Australia, like how safe is your money if it's in a traditional institution?
It's not your money.
That's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. It's not your money.
Not yours, man.
You've got the illusion it's your money.
That's right. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. So I think that sort of comes back to one point you were talking or wanting to cover, was the inherent value of this space, and where does crypto derive its value from? Because it is pretty esoteric when you start looking what is money and how's it created and what gives this digital thing that you can't put your hands on, what gives that value. So it's a very esoteric thing to try and understand. But when you understand the importance of being in control of your money, that's when you start to see the value. And if you combine that with the network effect, that's where we start to see real value accrue in this space.
When I got some information and education about the true origins of the fiat system, of the traditional system, when I realised what it's based on and what's going on now, that was my light bulb moment. Yep. When I realised that there's really not a lot of difference, quite frankly. I used to think it was gold based and all kind of thing. It hasn't been for a very, very, very long time.
71.
Yep. And you look at the US that hey, we need more money, we'll just print it. Yep. Well, they're not. It's not money. They're just tokens.
That's right. Well, it's a hidden tax.
Yeah.
Inflation is a hidden silent tax.
Totally agree.
They wouldn't have a war machine if they wouldn't be able to print money.
Sure.
If they'd turn around to the general public and say, hey, listen, we're going to invade Iraq. We haven't really worked it out yet why, but we kind of feel like it. Here's a bunch of lies. Like, everyone go along with it. And by the way, it's going to cost everyone $6,500 a year. People would be, no thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. It would just stop in its tracks.
Yep. You'd be getting them protesting in the street.
And it's funny, I think gold and silver bugs and the crypto guys fundamentally agree on a lot of things.
Yes. I've seen that. Absolutely.
They do. Yeah, they agree on the fundamentals of being able to
sovereignty.
Yeah, sovereignty. That's what it boils down to. Where it sort of diverges from that point is, okay, well, they've got something physical they can hold in their hand, and we've got something that's you can't hold in your hand. And that's where there's a big disconnect, and it flips their lid, and they just can't see how there can be value in something like that.
Okay.
But that is the beauty of it. That's where the value lies. Yep. And I think what we've seen play out over history is gold has been hoarded by sovereign nations. It's in vaults. If you, in a lot of cases, unless you're physically custodying the gold yourself, you are trusting someone else to do the right thing.
Don't own it if you don't have it.
That's right. You do not own it if you do not have it. As much as you would like to think you do, you do not own it. And that's the big disconnect. And I don't know whether some of the gold bugs are being disingenuous, or they truly just haven't connected.
I think they live in their own bubble.
Yeah.
I find this really interesting, guys, because as I say, I'm new. So as a newbie, I see things differently. And the conversation that I'm having with a lot of people is a lot of people in the crypto space that I'm meeting are investing in gold and silver.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm seeing a lot of that. Surprised me, to be frank, how much crossover. So they're almost using it as a base point.
Yeah. Well, they fundamentally, going back to your point, is they're trying to outbeat inflation.
Yep.
They're trying to be a hedge against inflation. They're just doing it in different ways. One of them is now it's a very new thing that we're still, let's face it, we're still experimenting with this as a society.
We are.
Yeah. But I think it's the benefit it gives us because of that self-custody and then the transferability, I guess. Is that a word? Transferability?
Oh, well, it is now.
Sounds like a word.
We'll use it.
Let's roll with that. Yeah. The portability, I guess, is the word I'm going for there. And this is coming from someone who got into the crypto space and thought the pairing of gold and crypto would be ideal. And I went very, very deep got quite a way along the path of having a gold-backed cryptocurrency.
Gotcha.
But along that journey, I learned a lot about the gold industry.
Yeah.
And the more I learned about it, the more I went, holy hell, I actually really I'm starting to more deeply understand the value in Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
And for me, it was
well, Bitcoin's transparent.
Transparent, but the gold industry is
corrupt.
It's corrupt as hell. That's the only way you can put it.
Oh, look, there's some warlords involved. It's a bit of everything. It's
that's
crazy
right.
stuff. Yeah, when you really get deep into it.
And you start on the diamond trade.
Oh.
So I guess looking at it from that point of view, you've got this, like you said, it's transparent.
Yep.
So everyone can see what's going on the blockchain.
You know how much the inflation, what the circulation supply is, the whole 9 yards. And you don't know that.
And I'd argue that that's sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
It's great to have that transparency, but we do need privacy as well.
Sure.
And so we can still have that transparency of where money is moving, but not have it, what we use in the industry is doxed. So it's not linked to a person, and they've still got their privacy, so that if they do want to transact with their next door neighbour or the guy down the fish and chip shop, he doesn't know exactly what you've got in your wallet.
Yeah, okay.
And so
I think that's completely reasonable. Yeah.
And that's really where we're seeing we're seeing a lot of pushback from governments where they're trying to restrict those privacy features.
For sure.
Yeah. Yes. And that's really the battleground at the moment that we're seeing.
We haven't seen such a intrusive sort of part of government, quite frankly, in my opinion, in the last 90 years. There was a little country in Europe where they were kind of doing similar things about 90 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You may have heard of it. Yeah. But we can laugh about it because we're laughing because it's real.
Yeah.
And, it's at a case of like our grandparents who would stash cash in the old mattress, the old stories of that. Well, that's a kind of the fact is, because they felt safe because they actually had control of that money themselves.
Yep.
And it wasn't, okay, so it could be taken. And I think a lot of people in the crypto space, it's the digital equivalent of stuffing the mattress.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got control of your money again. Yeah.
So if we sort of follow this thread, I mean, we'll keep going down this path because it's really important to understand that this transparency, it's a double-edged sword. We just mentioned that you can see everything, but you need the privacy factor. And it then leads us into where we're heading with central bank digital currencies. Yep. And so the governments are seeing the benefit of this transparent technology because they see how they can implement that into their own systems and regimes where then they've got, I guess, total visibility over where you spend your money, how
visibility,
you spend
control. You call it what you like.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
control.
They're doing it in China at the moment,
yes.
and they're doing things like, if you're not politically, going along the lines, they can just go, okay, well, you can't use public transport anymore because you can't pay for the public transport.
Now, a lot of people
just turn it off.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people go, well, that's China. It's kind of almost a different world. Well, it's not. It's just over there. But, a society that's very, very much like Australia is Canada. And look what we've seen over the last couple of years
Justin
there.
Trudeau. What a legend.
What a legend.
Hey, what a guy.
I think at this point, there is not a single large nation on the planet that is not planning a rollout of some sort of central bank.
Absolutely.
It's planning in bloody New Zealand.
New Zealand? Oh, look, yes. Hasn't Ardern walked out with she's just left a lovely legacy, that one. Absolutely fantastic.
And there's countries that were on my bucket list which I've got to think about twice now.
Yeah, you really do. You really do. On that front, funny enough, I had a conversation with someone the other day and we were talking about personal freedoms and that kind of thing. And literally, one of the countries that has the greatest personal freedoms left is Russia.
Yeah.
You know,
it's crazy. It's upside down world.
Oh, look, as a guy who grew up with the Cold War going on, you've got to laugh about that. All right, time for a song, bit of a break, guys, and we'll be back really soon. Here's Edge Radio Australia, the Hour of Power here, the Crypto Hour of Power. We've got Brandon, we've got Jeremy on the desk, and quite frankly, well, not the desk, we're chilling out in the lounges today. We're getting comfy.
That's right, in your Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, exactly right. Mate, we know how to do this. Back really soon. It's Edge Radio Australia. The Crypto Hour of Power. It's Edge Radio. Oh, props to Brandon today. He's chosen the music, and mate, great selection. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, good Aussie bands.
Kicking it back, absolutely.
Go the Aussies.
Damn right. We like to promote our Aussie music around here. Now, Jeremy, you've got a bit of a project going, mate, and I want to hear more.
Yeah. Look, I've got my finger in a number of pies, but I think something that really leans into what we've been chatting about today is one that I'm involved in called liquid loans.
Okay.
And it's a combination of a few things. So it's a DeFi protocol, and we talked about central bank digital currencies and stable coins. And this project is, first of all, it's a lending platform.
Sure.
But then it's also a stable coin factory.
Okay.
So think of it as being the Fed. So you get to print our own stable coin. So
Sure.
it's not subject to the fluctuations of the crypto market. It's ironically, it's pegged to the US dollar.
So Pelosi's not involved in this?
No, Pelosi's not involved in this one. But the really cool thing about it is everyone can own a piece of it.
Right.
So it's democratized. The very nature of this, it's permissionless. So you don't have to beg to open an account or give them all your ID and things like. Once you're on the blockchain, you can participate in this space. Okay. So you become a user of the system and an owner of the system. So any value that's generated within the system is, I guess, getting captured within that protocol.
Makes sense.
And
so it's not going to like CEOs and VPs that like fly around on private airplanes.
That's right. So you're basically stripping out all the middlemen, all the permission.
Or what I like to call parasites.
Parasites, you're getting out of all the parasites, and you're ending up with a protocol that allows you to extract some value from assets over time. So we said you want to be in this space for minimum 5 years. Hopefully you're in it for the rest of your days.
Yeah.
But let's face it, we need to take money out of this space to be able to interact in the real world.
Exactly right.
Currently. So wouldn't it be cool if you had a protocol that allows you to extract some of that value by getting to take some value out against assets that you own and that are continuing to grow in value. So I guess the best way to think of it is you own a house.
Yep.
Over the course of 10 years, hopefully it's doubled in value. Okay, now you can extract a little bit of that equity that's built up into the house to go and live your life and do things, and over time you would like that asset to keep going up in value.
As opposed to selling it.
As opposed to selling it. So you haven't had to sell it, you haven't had to realise any taxes that come along with selling the asset, because you've been able to get a loan against that asset.
Gotcha.
Now, like with all loans, there is a level of risk because you've got to be doing that sort of things responsibly. But if you're using these tools responsibly, it allows you to extract value over time. Now, the way you extract value in this protocol is you actually put up a cryptocurrency as an asset and you mint a stable coin.
Okay.
Yep. So in minting this stable coin, you're doing two things. You're extracting some value into something that is out of that volatility range.
Yep.
So you can move to that safe harbour that we talked about.
Yep.
And you're also putting into production an asset which I would like to see replace the fiat type dollars.
Sure.
So we're taking the minting out of the hands of governments and banks that are just printing this stuff at will.
Yep.
And you're putting it into something that is backed by some collateral. So you could think of it as an analogy would be going back on the gold standard.
Okay.
So you've got something of value.
There's something tangible, yeah,
there's something of value underpinning every one of these stable coins that is minted.
All right.
Such that if you hold these stable coins, you can go and redeem it for that thing of value. Much like you used to be able to go into a bank and give them your IOU, which was your dollars, and you would get gold back. Obviously, we can't do that anymore, but I guess that's the analogy of what we're doing here. So when we look across the crypto space in the DeFi world, that's the kind of thing we're building. And people don't understand that there's an alternate finance system being built right before their very eyes.
Exactly.
They just aren't aware of what's going on, and there is a lot.
So you could basically be using your home. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here. Using your home to create a passive income. In
that analogy, yeah. So you're holding on to an asset which we think over time is going to continue to grow.
Sure.
So an asset that in its own right accrues value.
Yep.
But then we use that to put up as collateral and extract a little bit of.
So round figures, like 10 grand worth of Bitcoin, you can borrow 5 grand from it, or something like that, like 2 grand.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would consider that too risky.
100%.
Because we're in a volatile asset space.
Yep.
But if you get that mix right.
Yep, 25% or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm probably even more at the like 10% sort of range.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you're comfortable with. It's your
right.
personal. Again, it's about your own personal control of your own money.
And you go, 10%, geez, that's not much, mate. But when you
you wild man, look at that.
But when you look at how these assets grow, if something's going up 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to put it all in perspective. And I think over time what we'll see happen, and we already are seeing this, is we're seeing the volatility get less and less every year and every cycle.
Sure.
And to the point where you'll still be able to put up these assets, but they won't be subject to such volatility as they get more market-wide adoption. And
okay.
So that's the sort of
sounds like a really interesting thing for me. I mean, a lot of people who are property owners are looking for other sources, are looking at a way of leveraging without going to the bank and the whole dropping to your knees and asking kind of thing. Yeah, which is exactly a whole different proposition. Yeah.
Cool. So where can we get hold of you and learn more about you and your project?
Yeah, so I'll give you a few different things. That specific project is liquidloans.io. So you can go check that out. There's a whole raft of information and documents on how that works, and you can go and play with it for free on the testnet version of that and test it out and see how it all works. From my side with the security side of things, and where I'm really heavily entrenched now, that's bradshawknox.com, and you can go check that out. I've got some free videos there on what is crypto and
fantastic.
Sort of get people up to speed.
Yeah, we got your links on the Facebook too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Saw that up there. Yep, for sure.
So go check out the Facebook. I've got Twitter's probably the easiest place to hit me up if you want a personal conversation.
Certainly. But on the Edge Radio Australia Facebook page, we've actually put your links up there. So away we go with that. That is fantastic. Because let's face it, a lot of people are going to want to know more information. The best way to move forward is to get that info. Yep. And let's make it nice and easy for everybody to get into this space, get a little freedom in their lives.
That's right. Mate. That's what we're all about.
Get out of the system.
Oh, jeez. Now you're exciting me.
Going to bring it to its fucking knees.
And with that, we'll call it the show for this afternoon. Thank you very much, General. I'll tell you what, I've really enjoyed today, and I've learnt a lot as well, which is a big thing for me. I like every time I have any of these involvement in any of these shows, I want to walk away and think, oh yeah, look, I've learned a couple of things, and I certainly have. So thank you very much for that. And we'll be back next Tuesday, Brandon. You'll bring another guest in, and away we go. And
actually, the next guest is coming in is Adam Stokes.
That should be an absolute ripper.
I'm absolutely stoked that he's coming.
He's been waiting to do that for how long? Enjoy your afternoon, everybody. Great music coming your way with Edge and a couple of other shows also with we've got Roscoe coming in doing Drive today. And just before we go, I
just wanted to say a big shout out and thanks for having me here, guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed coming and spending some time.
Absolutely our pleasure. Absolutely. All right, with that,
do you go to the news now?
No, we don't go to the news, mate. You know why we don't go to the news? I don't push propaganda.
Here's a news break, people. Everything's horrible. Just go outside and look at a tree and relax.
That's right. Go sit under a tree and enjoy life. All right.
Don't listen to the news.
It's Edge Radio Australia. That's the end of the Hour of Power for the crypto.